My rich girlfriend who just broke up with me asked me where I was. While I was grilling meat skewers with my brothers, I texted back to say I was staying home and sleeping to heal my wounds. The next second, her supercar parked right at the beginning of the street. The window rolled down. My girlfriend looked at me with a cold face. I sucked on the piece of meat that I had just finished grilling, but I couldn't release it. I swear, that light was the longest 30 seconds of my life. In high school, my ex-girlfriend was the school's beauty queen. More than half of the boys in school secretly like her. A few who were less courageous came forward to confess their feelings frankly, but they all failed, without any approval. At that time, seeing so many love rivals, I couldn't sit still anymore. People can't be gentle, so I have to play strong. Of course, I can't be strong, but my sister can. So one afternoon, my sister stopped Lu Nu Yin at the top of the stairs. Today you only have two choices. One is to be my brother's girlfriend. The other is to go to the hospital. Lu Nu Yin followed my sister's eyes and saw me waving and smiling brightly. She frowned, turned her head to look at my sister, and said, "Turn around now, there's still time." That day, Lu Nu Yin did not agree to be my girlfriend, nor did she have to go to the hospital. I sat next to her bed, carefully using cotton to wipe the wound at the corner of her mouth, and gently brainwashed the sisters. Knowing that you like Mr. Trake, you told me to come to this school because of him. Mr. Trake likes Lu Nu Yin. You already know this. You help me pursue Lu Nu Yin. Only then can Mr. Trake completely give up. So we are teammates. I pursue Lu Nu Yin also for your happiness. Hearing this, my sister raised her right hand, wanting to raise it. Then I quickly held her hand and reminded her. The doctor told me, don't move your hands around. That night, I lay in bed tossing and turning, thinking that if I couldn't think boldly, I had no choice but to squeeze in money. My family is newly rich. My parents are not good at anything else, only good at making money. So after school that day, I walked up to Lu Nu Yin, told her I spent $10,000 a month, and gave her $8,000, thinking about trying to be my girlfriend. She didn't answer. I choked myself, couldn't do more. She didn't show any expression, put her bag on her shoulder, walked around me and walked out of the classroom. I chased after. 10,000 is fine, okay? She has very long legs and goes down the stairs very quickly. I followed her to the school gate and saw her getting on a car. When the driver closed the back door, I saw a friendly and approachable old man inside. I've never met him, but I have an indescribable sense of familiarity. Later, when I passed by the glass cabinet in the library hallway, I confirmed the origin of that feeling. In the glass case is an interview with the school board chairman and also includes his photo. Because that gentle and approachable old man is the chairman of our school board, and Lu Nu Yin is his biological granddaughter. A few years later, when I think back on this, I still can't help but exclaim, if you know others and know yourself, you will win 100 battles. It's true that you read too little of the Ming Dharma. In 12th grade, I transferred to Lu Nu Yin's class and used some dishonest tricks to get a seat next to her. At the Fall Sports Festival, in the men's 3000m running category, there were no male students registered in the class. So I told the gym staff to let me go. Lu Nu Yin glanced at me, her eyes expressionless. Don't be such a big deal. If I come first, you can be my boyfriend. She threw the exercise book in her hand down in front of me. Can't you have something else on your mind? On the morning of the sports festival, perhaps I ate something. My stomach ached. During the first battle, I suddenly felt nauseous, then felt the world spinning, and vaguely heard a girl's voice calling my name from behind. I turned my head and saw a figure running towards me. The stadium was immediately noisy. Cheers rang out nonstop. It seems that Lu Nu Yin is calling me. Immediately after that, I denied this thought. It was definitely my hallucination. She said this morning she wouldn't come to watch me play. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the hospital bed in the medical room. My sister sat next to me and saw me regain consciousness, so she immediately gave me a thermos. If you can't run, don't be stubborn. Every time you run 1,000 meters, don't you live and then die? I took the glass of water and took a sip. I didn't expect my sister to be so thoughtful. It's the first time I see her so pleasing to the eye. From now on, I won't call people who like her blind anymore. Previously in my old class, my achievements were always average. Now moving to the best class in the block, the ranking immediately falls to the bottom. The exam results are out now. Lu Nu Yin conveniently took my exam paper. She turned the pages one by one, her face getting darker and darker. I suddenly wanted to take the cards back, but she held me tight. A look of helplessness flashed in her eyes. Do you want to take the exam with me? I was stunned. How did she know? She took the physics book from the desk drawer. Yesterday, you put my book in the wrong bag. This book is yours, she said and opened the book. I suddenly remembered page 42. This book has words I wrote when I lost concentration. If I pass the class, I must take the exam at the same school as my future wife. I quickly grabbed the book, closed it immediately, and smiled wryly at her. Her 2 hours of achievement cannot be caught up by me trying hard. It is an achievement at the top of the pyramid, with innate talent. From then until I graduated, I never dared to open that book again. A few years later, when the university entrance exam results came out, the class held a party. At that time, I learned that Lu Nu Yin had received invitation letters from 2 major foreign universities. Friends in class have fun downstairs. It was just me sitting alone on the balcony steps, leaning against the railing, drinking wine. Drink less, Lu Nu Yin said. Sitting down next to me, I looked at her. Lu Nu Yin, you can see that I worked really hard in 12th grade, right? She nodded. I tried to suppress my emotions, but my heart was still constantly agitated, and the corners of my mouth were trembling. You also know why I try so hard, right? She nodded again. At this moment, all the anger in my heart welled up. I was a bit drunk and shouted at her. So why didn't you tell me that you originally had no intention of studying at a domestic university? I was so angry that my eyes were even red and I almost cried. I know no matter how hard I try, I can't keep up with her. I also knew she didn't like me, so she interrupted me. Who said that? The gentle tone was as light as a leaf fluttering in the night wind. I was stunned. My mouth opened and I forgot to close it. An uncontrollable tear rolled down the corner of her lips. Being more embarrassed, I unconsciously felt lighter. Seeing that I didn't say anything, she lowered her voice. Who said I don't like you? Having finished speaking, she reached out and grabbed my arm. For the first time, I clearly recognized the familiar scent on her body. She leaned close to my ear. Why don't you open page 42 of your physics book? I immediately became a little more alert. Did you write something? She nodded slightly. Written. I immediately burst into tears because on the day the university entrance exam ended, I collected all the books to sell. Later, I asked Lu Nu Yin many times what she knew that night. Every time that happens, her face looks extremely unnatural. No matter how much I begged, she refused to say a word. At that time, both of us sisters were blind because of love. This cannot be separated from family education, but fortunately during the time Lu Nu Yin studied abroad, I gradually regained my composure. And my sister is sinking deeper and deeper into that path. Looking at me, I slowly put down the grill and looked at Ha Kuang. Let's change places to drink. Ha Kuang turned his back to Lu Nu Yin, his face full of questions. If you're eating delicious food, why do you have to change seats? I stared at the number jumping on the red light, saying, is it possible to change? Ha Kuang rang twice. Even though he didn't understand why I was mad, he still stood up. Just when my friend opened a famous restaurant online, I took him there. I agree, watching the supercar gradually move away, behind the green light, breathing a sigh of relief. In the eyes of outsiders, Lu Nu Yin has an elegant temperament and looks like a cold and noble princess. But in reality, that's just her cover. In Zhangtan, in the Lu family's generation, regardless of male or female, everyone is excellent. As for Lu Nu Yin, who can always hold the position of heir to the Lu family, how can there be only peace in the country? Upon arriving, Ha Kuang and I went straight to the second-floor terrace. He gave me a glass of fruit wine. Ha Kuang said, there's a question I've always wanted to ask you. I took a sip. No need to ask why. I proposed to break up because I wanted to kiss her after eating snail noodles, but she refused. Ha Kuang paused for 2 seconds then asked, just because she hates snail noodles? I frowned. Does she just hate snail noodles? Why does she obviously hate me too? For this reason, Ha Kuang obviously cannot accept it. My and Lu Nu Yin's love for each other was in front of a bowl of noodle soup. How could anyone accept it? Even I have to admit, Lu Nu Yin is the perfect lover. This reason is just an excuse I worked hard to earn. I still remember that day when I said goodbye. She stood silently with her back to me, next to the big window for 2 hours. But now, I can't tell you that the real reason for the breakup was that a talented green tea appeared next to Lu Nu Yin. High-quality green tea is also not the focus. Besides Lu Nu Yin, there has always been no shortage of green tea. The problem is that this green tea is my daughter. I once saw the bracelet that the green tea girl dropped at her house, including the earrings, and she was also wearing her nightgown. When I dated her, the green tea woman always found enough reasons to call her away. Winning first, I brought wine and sneaked into Lu Nu Yin's house to prepare for bitterness. I raised Tao for 3 years. When we got to her house, she was taking a shower. The green tea girl wearing her nightgown calmly lay on the bed and slept very well. After Lu Nuyin finished bathing, she looked very unnatural when she saw me. She thoughtfully covered the girl with a blanket and pushed me out of the bedroom. From beginning to end, no explanation was given. I reasonably suspect Lu Nuyin is bent. At this time, the boys downstairs suddenly became noisy. I followed their eyes and looked over. Why did Lu Nuyin come here? Moreover, she also brought Bok Ninbang. The person accompanying her was Bok Ninbang. At this time, she and Lu Nuyin sat downstairs on the round sofa next to the swimming pool, immediately becoming the focus of the party. It can be seen that Bok Ninbang's mood is very good. From the moment I entered until now, 2 rows of teeth kept showing up. A male student invited her. She did not refuse anyone, and cooperated extremely enthusiastically. Surely knowing that Lu Nuyin and I broke up, she came to annoy me. Lu Nuyin sat quietly in a corner of the sofa, showing a distant expression to the stranger. Bok Ninbang raised his head to see me, smiled and waved for me to come down and play with him. When Ha Kuang saw a beautiful girl taking the initiative to invite him, his spirit was immediately lifted. So beautiful, why have you never mentioned it? I was about to open my mouth, but swallowed the words back. What can I say? Tell me she's my rival? Ha Kuang pulled me downstairs. Bok Ninbang saw us coming and was kind enough to give me the seat next to him. When Ha Kuang heard that he was going to play the game, he became even more enthusiastic, constantly eyeing me and asking me to help. I raised my hand to make a 0 sign at him. He smiled and raised the OK sign in response. It's true that when there are beautiful girls, they're less likely to let me participate. The whole time, I still didn't say anything. Lu Nuyin suddenly spoke up, then stood up, left the corner of the chair, and sat down right across from me. Her presence immediately made the atmosphere explode. A male student suggested playing a more stimulating game. Everyone here is single, right? I nodded. Bok Ninbang smiled meaningfully, leaned his head close to my ear, lowered his voice and asked, You 2 broke up? I frowned and asked again, You don't know? She smiled sweetly like candy, clearly happy. She won't tell me. The silent exchange between me and Bok Ninbang was captured by Lu Nuyin. Her face darkened. The surrounding atmosphere seemed to cool down. There were male students who wanted to come and start a conversation, but no one dared to come. For the first round, Bok Ninbang and I paired up. I pretended to be stupid. In the game, when it came to the speed test, I deliberately didn't take a turn. As a result, the 2 of us ranked last. Bok Ninbang realized that I did it on purpose but was not angry at all. Even completed the punishment with me. Lu Nuyin still maintained her extremely fast hand speed as before. When the scores were summed up, she took the number 1 position, making the male students in her group very disappointed because they didn't have a chance to interact at all. It seems that only when she is alone with me does she unconsciously reveal another side of herself. One time I was surfing a short video and saw someone making snacks for his girlfriend. I showed her the phone. Let me make this for you tonight. She was listening to the group's financial report, glanced at her phone, then focused back on her work. Seeing her not reacting, I also got used to it. Unexpectedly, when I arrived, she went into the kitchen, then sat alone on the balcony, stretching out her arms to hug her but not letting her. Another time, I took advantage of her while she was sleeping and pinched her cheek. She frowned slightly, her figure soft as if she were acting like a babe. Sleep for a while, then raise your head and snuggle into my arms, rubbing against my chest. In my mind, I see her sleeping appearance again, extremely docile and even beautiful, white and smooth skin. The driver glanced at me, seemingly sensing that I was in a bad mood. He tried to comfort him. Don't be sad anymore. Everything has a chance, as long as you try. I pouted. There are things that cannot be changed just by trying. The more I think about it, the more I feel sorry for myself and my emotions well up. I couldn't help but turn to the driver and ask, Tell me, how can she be curvy? Ha Kuang said, No, I have a friend, his girlfriend is been again. Can you straighten it again? Ha Kuang was decisive on the phone and firmly advised to break up. I interrupted him, turned around and continued asking, Should we say it clearly when we break up? Ha Kuang sighed. Everyone understands this. There's no need to say it. When breaking up, usually the girl will hold on, the boy will hesitate. But in the end, the girl made a double bet. The boy was completely heartbroken, both miserable and frustrated. Tell me, who is this unlucky person? Do I know you? I hung up the phone, my head covered with python. The next morning, as soon as I entered the company, I saw several male colleagues gathered at the reception desk, chatting happily. I curiously leaned closer. What are you guys talking about? The receptionist pulled me back. Just now, a long-legged beauty walked into the meeting room. I heard that General Manager Truong came out of the meeting room and waved to me. I quickly walked in front of him. General Director Truong nodded slightly, then pointed to the meeting room door, signaling me to follow inside. Human is the mainstay of our company's business. If cooperation goes smoothly, General Director Bach can rest assured. As he spoke, General Director Truong pulled me forward. Kogan, this is General Director Bach of Saokok Group. You will be responsible for future cooperation projects. I nodded when I saw the person across from me. The smile on my face immediately stiffened. Bach Ninbang? Why is she here? Come on, General Manager Bach is coming to our company for the first time. Please take her to visit. I immediately replaced it with a professional smile. General Manager Bach just went here. On the way, all eyes were glued to Bach Ninbang. Occasionally, there were a few whispers. She walked around freely. I followed, occasionally chatting a few words. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. I looked down and saw a text message from Ha Kwong. After you left last night, Lu Nuyin's temperament changed completely. I quickly replied, what's going on? Ha Kwong replied immediately. She asked everyone not to reveal what happened last night. She was obviously laughing and talking, but the pressure radiating from her body made no one dare to breathe loudly. But anyone who secretly took photos and videos had to delete them in front of her. I read the message as I walked, accidentally bumping into someone's salary. Raising his head, he saw Bach Ninbang. Why did you stop? I followed her gaze and saw my desk. She stood by the table, seemingly very interested in the model on the table. Look at this and then touch that. Then she pointed to my display rack. You like this set? I absent-mindedly answered the question, but no matter how many times I opened the blind box, I couldn't win. She didn't answer, seeing her colleagues all looking this way. She smiled. Hello, everyone. When I left, I walked her out the door. She was just about to get in the car when she turned to look at me. Did you and Lu Nuyin really break up? I silently rolled my eyes. It's true that she didn't just come to visit. She was clearly afraid that I was still lingering on Lu Nuyin, afraid that she and I would reunite. I nodded. Don't worry, we really broke up. Bach Ninbang waved goodbye to me, then opened the car door, started it, and drove away. I turned and walked towards the elevator. Wait. What was she looking at me with just now? As gentle as a feather being gently moved by the wind, so gentle that it's unbelievable. Arriving at the elevator, I shook my head a few times, trying to clear away the doubts in my heart. Surely my eyes have problems. I'm seeing wrongly. Returning to the office, the surrounding colleagues immediately panicked. Come on. Is there something going on between you and General Manager Lu? The partner's director personally came to discuss cooperation. That's right. And it's also my big dad. It's obviously because of you. I smiled awkwardly twice, not knowing how to explain. Think of it as simply being quiet, not mentioning it anymore, opening the computer and starting to type out the plan. Kogan replied. I ordered it for everyone to come this afternoon. The receptionist poked her head into our department's door frame. Go sign and receive it. As soon as everyone heard the words, afternoon tea, they all immediately burst into laughter. Outside the door, deafening screams immediately rang out. Isn't this the bakery downstairs? The bakery I've wanted for so long. I've never had the heart to order it. It's so expensive. Gon's release is about to sign a big contract, so we should pre-order to celebrate. When should I order a cake? Moreover, there is also a high-end bakery downstairs. It's definitely wrong. Half a year ago, in order to understand this industry, I decided to work at this company. In the company, I am always diligent and dedicated. If I have a job, I rush in first. Everyone thought I was in a difficult situation, so they often took care of me. I walked out to the front desk, glanced at the order, and saw that it was my information. At this moment, the phone received some strange messages. Has BH arrived yet? Passing by the company, you see that this store has a lot of people in Q's circle of friends. I don't know what flavor you like, so I ordered some to try. You and your colleagues can share it. I hesitated, typed, and asked her, Bach Ninbang. The other party immediately replied, I would like to become your friend on WeChat. Give me some dignity. I switched to WeChat, and sure enough, I saw a friend request. As soon as she clicked accept, she immediately texted, invite you to dinner tonight to discuss future cooperation. You invited me to dinner? Is this the way you steal someone's girlfriend and have a guilty conscience? Seeing that I didn't answer, she added another message. It's okay if I come to find you tomorrow. Today, showing her around has been such a big deal. What if she comes tomorrow just to find me? I looked at my watch and replied, the location you choose is morning and afternoon. I am very interested in 6, but have never had a chance to come into contact with this company's business field. Now the opportunity is in front of me. There is no reason to refuse. Even though I don't want to meet Bok Nin Bang, making money is more important. With 5 minutes left before work, Bok Nin Bang texted me to say that she had arrived at the company's underground parking lot. As soon as she got in the car, she immediately located a very famous private restaurant. On the way, we got straight to the point, directly discussing the details of the contract. Bok Nin Bang appears to work arbitrarily and without rules, but in fact his business intuition is very sharp. I could only muster all my mental strength to deal with her questions. After eating, on the way home, the contract was basically agreed upon. Before getting off the bus, I tentatively asked, General Manager Bok, is it okay to sign the contract tomorrow? She looked at me, a slight smile curled up at the corner of her mouth. Brother, of course you work thoughtfully and decisively. I jumped out of the car and waved to her. See you tomorrow. Bok Nin Bang's car disappeared around the corner. I turned around and walked into the apartment lobby. As soon as I pressed the elevator button, someone pulled my arm hard. I turned my head to look. It was Lu Nu Yin. I was surprised. Why did you come here? Lu Nu Yin looked straight at me. Is it because of her? There was an additional emotion in her eyes that I didn't understand. From the corner of my eye, I saw 2 familiar figures walking this way. I was startled, took 2 steps back, and stared at the wall. Van grabbed Lu Nu Yin's hand, pulled her towards him, then hugged her waist, his whole body pressed close to her. She's a bit difficult. Understand, I signaled her not to say anything. Mom, just give me the address. If you need anything, just run over here yourself. My sister tried to speak. Hearing her voice, she knew she was being forced to come. My mother, as always, was gentle and soft-spoken. Haven't seen you for half a month. Just came to visit for a bit. Lu Like Yin reached out and hugged my shoulder, pressing pain into the ink. I felt her breath on my neck. My heart beat faster, unconsciously hugging her a little tighter. Really slim and soft waist. Since the fight in high school, my sister extremely disliked Lu as much as Yin. Until now, I still can't mention her name in front of you. The 3 words Lu are like Yin. That's why for the past 6 years I have never made my love story public. Your guy is here. Maybe seeing Lu and Yin as intimate as this. Their sweet feelings were rising, so they immediately went in by themselves. Hearing the sound of the elevator going up, I breathed a dangerous sigh and let go of Lu Like Yin. They're gone. Lu Like Yin still maintained the position of hugging me. I repeat again, you can let me go. Her eyes were deep but full of repression. Seeing me bow my head to look at her, her eyelids fluttered slightly, and she lowered her eyes, avoiding my gaze. The arm still refused to let go, still holding me tightly. I felt her pounding heartbeat. The atmosphere gradually became ambiguous. In front of me is the woman I have loved for the past year, telling me I don't regret the scent on her body that is fake. She saw that I didn't seem to resist. Her eyes stopped on my lips. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. I couldn't help but squeeze her waist. Her breath blew gently on my face, but with a bit of slowness. The elevator came again. A smiling person walked out of the elevator. I was startled to open my eyes, escaped the gloomy atmosphere, pushed her away, rushed into the elevator, and quickly pressed the floor button. Don't dare look at her for another second. The elevator door closed, watching the numbers jump up. My heart still can't calm down. I almost fell in completely. Early in the morning, I sent the draft contract to Father Fap, took the edited contract and headed straight to the corporation's headquarters. With my speed, even Bok Nin Bang had to admire it. Do you want to change jobs? If you want to come to our company, you are always welcome. I rolled my eyes. What's so funny about your subordinates, huh? If you're teasing me, it's okay to do something else. Then take out a model and give it to me. What I'm missing, let me make up for it. I take it. She turned around, pushed open the conference room door, signaling me to enter. Vi's French team nodded to me. I brought out the contract. Our French side spoke with your team this morning. At this moment, the classroom door opened again. Lu Nu Yin let her assistant in. Why is she here? Why weren't everyone in Vi surprised when they saw her? Lu Like Yin is so comfortable. Obviously come here often. Could it be that the relationship between her and Bok Nin Bang was made public in Vi? I suddenly remembered the news. Maybe before I say goodbye, they wait for me to get a green hat. Lu Nu Yin raised her finger slightly at Six Cock's lawyer. The other 6 lawyers respectfully handed over the contract. Lu Nu Yin very carefully confirmed each term with the assistant next to her. I gritted my teeth in my heart. My anger could not be contained. Is she that afraid of me cheating on her? Women are truly thoughtful. If looks could kill, Lu Like Yin and Bok Nin Bang would have been cut into noodles by me. You can sign now. Lu Nu Yin finished copying the contract, nonchalantly threw it back to the lawyer, then closed her eyes on the back of the chair, looking tired. No reduction, not a word. After signing the contract, leave the meeting room. Bok Nin Bang suddenly had an unexpected meeting. She hung up the phone, looked at me with a smile in her eyes. You just go into the office. I drove first, and after speaking, I even gave Lu Like Yin a meaningful look. I stood between the 2 people, watching them exchange glances. Am I also a part of their game? It's truly a myth. I'll go home first. After saying that, I turned around and left. Bok Nin Bang's voice rang out from behind. Let the assistant take you home. I didn't turn my head, just waved my hand over the speaker. I drove myself down the elevator and toward the parking lot. Just as I was about to get in the car, I heard footsteps behind me, getting closer and closer. I turned around, and it turned out to be Lu Like Yin. What are you doing down here? Lu Nu Yin stepped in front of me, her voice as gentle as jade. The Ko-Hang noodle soup you mentioned, I found it. Believe me again, that noodle shop that I liked the most next to my school in high school, 3rd year of university, suddenly moved away. I mentioned it once in a conversation, but I didn't expect Lu to remember it like Yin. Seeing my silence, she actually asked, "Want to come along?" Before it could get stuck in my head, my lips fell down again. Suddenly her phone rang. Look at the screen for a moment, and then say, "Let me answer the phone first." I nodded, then went to lean against the pillar next to her, waiting for her. Her figure is tall and full of lines. The yellow light shined down. Her face was truly a strong punch to my heart. My heart beats loudly. For a moment, I felt like I was back in high school, when she and I met on the stairs. The moment our eyes met, a proverbial voice rang out in my heart. Lu Like Yin called me, pulling me out of my thoughts. Seeing her serious expression, I asked, "What's wrong?" "I have an urgent meeting. Can I come pick you up tonight?" I remembered. Fortunately, Bok Nin Bang was looking for you. Dreamily, I closed my eyes, extinguished the small fire that had just kindled in my heart, turned around, and quickly walked towards the car. When I opened the car door, I couldn't help but turn around and scream, "Lu Like Yin, don't let me see you again." Go. Well, I'm a little surprised. She and Lu Like Yin had quarreled. She nodded, her tone half joking and half serious. I told her I wanted to pursue him. I spit out my drink, almost choking. Good, good. She immediately pulled out a tissue and gave it to me, patting my back for me. I raised my head to look at her, coughing until tears flowed from my eyes. Don't you like girls? Her hand that was patting my back stopped. Dung's pupils were light. She grabbed my collar and leaned close to my ear. Damn, do you see what I like about girls? I do retract. He drank the water frantically. Seeing that, she wasn't angry with me anymore, just closed her eyes, took a deep breath to regain composure. The wine atmosphere again. She crossed her arms over her chest. Start reading some nonsense. I ventured to ask, so what is your relationship with Lu Like Yin? She is my sister. I'm a bit unsure. When I checked her background, I didn't see her name on the list. So your resume is incomplete. She glared at me. What is Liu's mother like Yin? My parents divorced. My mother took me to America. I changed our last names. Since then, we have not been together. This time when I returned home, my family did not want me to get involved with my father's family. I nodded. Bok Nin's father has the last name Liu, so it's not strange for Bok Nin to appear at Liu's house like Yin. The problem in my heart was removed. I quickly laughed to hide my confusion. Hearing me say I wanted to pursue him, she immediately turned away. This one covers more than half of my international projects. I bowed my head silently, thinking about how to coax Lu Like Yin back. Lu Like Yin always distinguishes between public and private affairs, not letting personal feelings interfere with business matters. There was no such heavy hand this time. I laughed bitterly twice. The torch is gradually catching up with current affairs. Why do you want to pursue me? We are not familiar at all. Bok Nin Bang bowed his head and smiled slightly. We met a long time ago. 5 years ago. I hid from everyone and ran to America to surprise Lu Like Yen. I was stunned. Do you know that too? That time, surprise turned into panic. As soon as he left the airport, he lost his wallet. She looked at me. At that time you were sitting in the back seat, face to face with Lu Like Yen the whole way. Do you remember who the driver was at that time? It's me. Seeing my silence, she smiled lightly. In your eyes, there's only her from beginning to end. She's never looked at me once. I've had many boyfriends, she looked out the window. But no one has ever looked at me the way you look at Lu Like Yen. At first, I was just curious about him. After that, gradually I liked him. I'm afraid of her eyes, I don't dare face her, but I'm not to the point of giving up everything for him. She raised the glass of wine in front of her and took a sip. Lu Like Yen is here. If you're in trouble, you still have to distract yourself to help me. I raised my head. What's wrong with Lu Like Yen? What does she feel? She glared at me and said, so much so. In the end, you still only care about her. I was silent. Bok Nin Bang looks very unsightly. Let's go ask her. I stood up. Okay, I'll go now. She called me back. I turned my head. What's wrong? Okay, nothing. Having finished speaking, she waved her hand and finished her glass of wine. I understood the emotion in her eyes that she couldn't bear it, but I couldn't respond. I stood in front of Liu's house like Yen, my voice lowered. I just wanted to see her right away. When I got to the door, I hesitated again, took the phone to call her, but no one picked up. I put my finger on the fingerprint lock and the door opened. I quietly walked in instead. Lu Like Yen, no one responded. Only the sensor light turned on. The living room is empty. I stood still, but the sound of a gong echoed from the bedroom. I walked in slowly. The light is in sleep mode. She seemed to be sleeping, her body leaning towards the window. I empty my hands on the bed and quickly come closer. Looking at her, she didn't move. She opened her eyes and looked out the window, but it turned out she hadn't slept yet. I moved forward and lay down, hugging her from behind. I misunderstood before. As I said, my hand moved past her, touching her stomach. She grabbed my hand while playing with it, then snuggled into my arms. Just now I was afraid you would come and force me to break up. I kissed the top of her head. She continued to say, after you said goodbye, I thought a lot. We were together for 6 years. I spent very little time with you, and I didn't do much for you. I always convinced myself that you chose someone else because I wasn't good enough. But every time I think of you choosing someone else, my heart aches. I felt stinging in the corner of my eyes, suddenly remembering a saying. People who don't love you will see that you ask for too much. People who really love you will see that it's not enough. I pursed my lips and choked. Sorry. Liu's voice was like Yen's, full of fatigue. Probably stayed up several nights in a row. Dark, lightly brush her long hair. What trouble have you encountered recently? She simply recounted the situation of Lu T Group. Newly established subsidiary. This year encountered technical problems. Initially, he had signed a cooperation contract with another company, a chromatography contract, but that party turned around at the last minute. Lu T gave up 7 parts of the profit before she agreed to cooperate. Can I change to another company? Lu Like Yen shook her head. This technology only has that company. What's the name of that company? Tian High Technology. I smiled, and knew Lu was like Yen. You still maintain my family's dignity. Our ancestors used to be bandits, and in the business world, just add a bit of bandit spirit to it. Leave this matter to me. The next day, I handed over my sister's company to Lu Like Yen. Lu Like Yen was assigned to Bok Nin Bang. Bok Nin Bang threw it to Traxier again. Traxier was studying abroad and couldn't separate himself, so he kicked my sister back home. Now my sister looks at Lu and Yen with extreme dislike. A week later, I smoothly entered the lane at Tian High and thoroughly investigated this company. Tian High is rotted from the inside out. I took a bite of 4 and then continued to say, cooperation is impossible. Lu Like Yen picked up beans from her bowl for me. Is it okay to cooperate? Another half-month passed. I called Lu and Yen to inform her that the problem had been resolved. I played a game of tubing on the bottom of the slave. Lu Nguyen asked, what do you mean? I took away Tian High's entire technical department. We have 23 vacant positions left. Lu like Yin on the other end of the line was as confused as a newborn baby. I added, they have very good technology, good conduct, and the salary is the same as that side. Just now, I told the Human Resources Department to try to complete the job acceptance procedures for them as soon as possible. The salary will also be adjusted according to the corresponding standards. I turned around and wrote my resignation letter, leaving Tian Hai. Closing the last day of the probationary period. After solving Liu's problems like Yin, I took her home. The whole family likes her very much, except my sister. Lu like Yin wears a red scarf. My mother knitted it for her. Your house has a very good atmosphere. I held Liu's hand as Yin walked nearby. Today I gave them a very suitable gift. It took a lot of thought. Lu knew Yin smiled and gently peeled my hand. I wonder if your sister likes the gift I gave her. I frowned. Don't pay attention to her. Whatever you give her, it's unlikely she will like it. My mother called to tell us to come home for dinner. So we went back. Just arriving at the gate of the house, my sister saw Lu Yin. Her eyes lit up. Her mouth kept calling, Nu Yin. Nu Yin. Gives me a headache. I immediately turned black and saw my sister come closer. I quickly stepped up and pulled her aside. You changed your attitude so quickly? She gave me a limited edition necklace. Didn't you tell me not to mention her in front of you for the rest of your life? But she gave me a limited edition necklace. I let go, forget it. My sister has a problem with her brain. After dinner, I took Lu and Yin home. Passing by the high school, I suddenly wanted to check it out. We walked in the gym. I suddenly remembered something, pulled Lu Yin's hand back, looked at her seriously. Page 42 of the physics book. What exactly is written? She narrowed her eyes. Her smile was full of gentleness. You can remove the word futured. I listened but didn't really understand, frowned, and seriously asked again, what? She reached out to adjust the collar of my shirt. Love is full of eyes. I know I can leave out the word futured. I touched her cheek. So you confessed first. She laughed. If you don't see it, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. At that moment, the school bell rang. The teaching building immediately reviewed. For a moment, I felt like I was back in 12th grade. The only difference was that the shadow I was always chasing was now standing right next to me.